Well, excited to come back to Memorial. I got the military display on to have a game on Veterans Day to celebrate everything about that. We'll do that with basically the same emblem on our helmet. And after we get done with this, two of our players, Tip Ryman and I, and also Jeremiah Warren, who has some family history of the military, we'll do a little thing with the services here in the stadium. So it's kind of a cool week in that regards to honor everything that's going on in our world today. Honored to be a part of that, and obviously to be in Memorial Stadium. I really got educated when I got here, from everything with the names on the pillars to everything else that it involves. So it's a great part to be a part of that this weekend. From a football standpoint, have a lot of respect, obviously, for Indiana to beat Wisconsin last week, and to do it the way they did. Is a very hard-fought, well-earned game. Really, since their bye week, obviously they've had some transition on their coaching staff. Their O-line coach and I go way back. I've known Rod Carey for a long time. Tremendous respect for those coaches, and really didn't know Coach Allen until I got in the league on my return. So tremendous respect for him. From a couple update standpoints, just literally met with JB, our trainer, and Reggie will practice tomorrow, full go. I think our thought is to let him go Tuesday. He was kind of on the back end of last week and didn't respond as well. That's why we didn't take him on a trip. So Reggie will be full go tomorrow to kind of see how he responds on Wednesday. But the idea and anticipation would be for him to be back with us. Keith Randolph really handled the game pretty well, but I would say that I don't think it was 100% Keith. So we're going to kind of back off him a little bit this week, but fully intend for him to be back with us. Our thoughts will be with Aiden tomorrow. Aiden Lawfrey will have surgery tomorrow morning and start his road to recovery as it goes. And then Luke, basically at the end of the game there, took a shot that, prohibited him from moving forward. But I do expect him to bounce back this week and have him be involved with the game on Saturday. If not, obviously John would be our guy. But right now, every indication is that we'll be able to go down that road. I give a lot of credit to our coaches. I specifically said Thursday after practice on the field about how we're 8 games into this, right? You have all this film to watch, all this film to prepare on. But the greatest players I've ever been around are the guys that are put in situations that they weren't accounted for or weren't ready or expecting them to happen. I literally said to the group, there's going to be somebody on this field right now that has no idea they're going to impact our game. I didn't know it was going to be our second string quarterback on 4th and 11 with less than a minute to go and no timeouts. So give John Paddock a tremendous amount of credit. But I also think he has a rapport with our players. The way Isaiah Williams responded to him immediately, especially on that last play, but also the 4th and 11 play was a play that they had, I think, connected on, not just in that moment, but during the course of the year, just mutual respect for one another. I really like the way our defense responded in the second half. The numbers were really staggering in the first half. It was kind of a unusual first half, but the way it played out to go in that locker room 17-14, told the guys at halftime, let's not come back in here without a W, and obviously a lot of good things to make that happen. So, I thought it was interesting, right? Like Luke in the first half was 15 of 19, but I looked at it from a statistical standpoint, right? So since the Penn State game, he's completed 66% of his passes. He's thrown for over 1,300 yards, over 220 a game, 10 touchdowns to 3 interceptions, right? And I like the fact that we're playing better football down the stretch. I obviously wish we had played better in some of those earlier games, but I like the direction this team takes. I like the work ethic. I like their attitude. I think we'll see more of the same. See a lot of guys up there this morning, obviously in the building already on a player's day off. So I'm excited for the week to see where we can go. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
Coach Aaron Henry said that Johnny Newton may be the most impactful interior defensive lineman that he's ever coached or been around. Where does he stack up as far as the guys that you've seen?
Yeah, ironically, I was coming in on Sunday morning and Terrence Jamison, our D-line coach, was parked right next to me. He came in at the same time, and I said, hey, we obviously have 4 guaranteed games left with Johnny, and I think as a coach, one of the great things that I had from advice from Coach Alvarez, my first year as a head coach, was coaching Joe Thomas and Paul Chris and him. We were sitting together, and they said, hey, this is, Joe might be a generational player, and I really didn't even know what that meant. That was a big term for me. And they said, you may never have another left tackle that plays the game as well as Joe Thomas. And so I've always kind of had that term. I've been around some great ones, some first-round draft picks, and And for me, at the defensive line, at the interior defensive tackle position in college, is by far the best player I've been around. And it's a point last year where I knew he was a really good player, right? And when Johnny decided to come back, he wanted to come back with the idea that he was going to play as good as he possibly could, and then put a 1 on his back, right, for on draft day. And everything I've witnessed to this point has reassured me it's even better than it was a year ago. I think classic play on Saturday, obviously the third down, and that's a 4-point play, right? So that sack was a big sack, but it prohibited 4 points from going on the board, and you see the effect that it had on the game in the end, right? But I tell you what happened is he beat that tackle on a one-on-one, but he closed on that quarterback, I think, faster than that quarterback had any idea he could do. That's the difference with Johnny, I think, than any other D lineman I've been around. I think the biggest wow factor he has is after he beats the guard or the tackle or the center, he has the ability to close on quarterbacks. In today's world, some of these quarterbacks are third-string running backs, right? And Johnny's innate ability to close on a quarterback after he beats a rusher is really at a high level of performance.
Brett, why was Clayton Bush able to kind of rise to the occasion like he did?
Clayton's been a pretty impressive guy, to be honest, ever since he came in the summer. Very athletic, very intelligent. I remember the first time the guys started talking about him, like, Coach, have you seen him return punts or catch punts? He kind of came onto the scene. Obviously, Matt Bailey position, and when Matt went down, we knew we were down to Nicario and Clayton, and I think Aaron, Nicario played with some physicality, and that's what drove it. But I tell you, Clayton is a very intelligent person. Probably a little too smart for his britches at times. Like he's definitely a very confident player and a big personality. And I've been kind of waiting for his moment. I thought he might be one of those guys that rise up, and it's exactly what happened. Everybody wants to talk about the third down stop, but the 2-point play that he knocked out of the back of the now as a quarterback was catching it, so it wouldn't. But you got to put him in a spot once in a while. But yeah, like the play there was really, really big, and just a super intelligent player. He's always engaged. He's always asking a lot of questions, and not surprising at all, he rose up in a big moment.
As a quick follow-up, you had Clayton back there returning a couple of punts.
Yeah.
Was that just giving Isaiah a break, or did you just like what you wanted?
Well, they were back there together, and then what they did schematically, 27 is a really good player for him, right? Like I've had a man crush on him ever since I got here as an Illinois player, right? And he literally has put one of our keys to victory was for us, we wanted to run the ball, stop the run, and to cover kicks. On the flip side of it, every one of our return units, we wanted to know where number 27 was. And he kind of dictates where the ball goes. So we never knew where he was going to line up and where the direction was going. So we didn't, after that first one hit and ran for a couple extra yards, I said, okay, we're going twin punt returners the rest of the way. It was just mainly to field the kick.
But what have you specifically observed with Thad and Caden to allow that relationship to blossom?
Just like that little A-train I threw out. Did you guys see that? Like you guys are coming up with these bad nicknames. I was trying to help them out.
The Arthur Wagons.
Yeah, the Arthur Wagons.
But to allow Caden to step, you don't like that, but to allow Caden to step into this bigger role here.
He's from Atwood. The thing that I've been impressed with that, so when I first got here, there were several people in my ear about that. And obviously the way the staff kind of shook out, I wanted to move Corey, I wanted to retain Corey and to move him to that position. But I became aware of that at that time. And the people that spoke to me on Thad's behalf, I really respect, not only in this building, but in his profession. And then I kind of had my eye out a little bit. And then when we had the opening, he was a guy that I went back to those same people and talked about. He had obviously been at K-State. A person that I mutually know through K-State had made reference to about how much of an effect he had on the wide receiver room in that program. And that really was enhanced the more I met with him. We met in St. Louis, kind of sat down and just, really the first time we sat down face to face, his detail, his professionalism, I think our players really have responded to his attention to detail. Like he's really, really specific with each one of them. I think a lot of times in a running back room, coaches group just to the starter, or they cater to the guy, right? And he really literally has a plan. I've been very impressed with that detail for each guy, right? And then I think, in the initial conversations, I could see Caden had never really been, and it's very common, right, that jump to college, but in talking with his mom, Jen just talked about, because he had been recruited by Corey and really myself and the staff, and he just gravitated right away to that, and it's continued to grow. I've been very impressed. That's a true freshman that's doing that, right? And everybody had been kind of waiting for that breakout run. I literally had said, I think his first breakout play would be a pass, just because he's faster than most people think. He can really go. You saw a little bit on that play against Wisconsin, but when he gets ahead of steam going, man, he can cook.
How has he changed your offense, Caden?
How's he changed our offense?
Yeah,
I think he's given us a little bit of stability, maybe. I think at the beginning of last spring, he wasn't quite healthy when he got here. So in the spring, guys saw a big, good-looking body, right, that can do some things. But then once he got healthy and we got a little more balanced, JB and his crew did a nice job of getting him fully healed in the spring. In the summer, we could see it running, and then in the fall camp, that's when it jumped out. And he's just he can hit a hole. He can hit a small hole and get vertical. There was a play that gained 11 yards the other day that literally looked like it wasn't going to be anything, and all of a sudden he's falling forward for 11. I don't know if he's been stopped for a negative yard play yet. And he's just he's and the greatest thing about him is just his humility, his demeanor. He's got a great sense of humor. His mom is, and that whole family, dad and grandpa and his aunt and uncles. I think the first time he came to campus, there might have been like 13, 14 people with him, right? That's just kind of how they roll.
Right, both of your coordinators just referenced meeting with you and kind of a rehearsal process for potential scenarios, and those both played out.
Oh, Friday nights?
Yeah. Is that a common practice you've always had? Is it unique?
I would say for me as a head coach, I kind of flip midweek, right? So I watch game film Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday I flip to TV copy, and I took that from Bill, and that was really. On TV copy, you see things differently, and you watch the game as it unfolds. When you watch defense film, you don't know what happened on offense. So, I've always kind of believed in my journey here, like that's been a big step of how we play the game. I talk a lot about how we want to play the game, and then really Friday night I tried to. They don't know what we're going to watch. I think I had 228 plays set for them, and sometimes we get to them all, sometimes we don't. But it's plays they haven't ever seen in sequence, so I teach them. Where it is, and yeah, that's been very beneficial. Every coordinator I've had, obviously the first one offensively didn't go well, but I think that was a growing experience. I think Ryan made that reference, and Aaron and Barry both. It just allows us all to get on the same page. So when Saturdays come, I don't want it to be a surprise. Like I'll literally say sometimes, like I kept Aaron back on Friday night. I wanted to go over some end of half things, right, and end of game situations that literally played out right in front of us. And since I've been here, I can't tell you how many times that Friday night session plays out to something that we see on Saturday.
Brett, just for any clarities or any other specifics you can offer on Luke, so we don't speculate about what his injury is.
I met with him today, and I mean, from where he came from after the game to yesterday to today, it was night and day. So I think the problem that you just got to make sure is obviously he's got to get full cleared medical clearance, but. I don't think there's any doubt that he's trending in that direction as we speak. I think the balance Joe is going to have to be is just let the doctors do their deal. Now he's unique because he's got a dad that's a doctor, right? So it's truly got to be in the hands of our doctors where they go. But he was definitely he came in and met with me probably about 10 o'clock this morning, and you could just see the way he was interacting, the things we saw. I showed him a couple things on film, and he was very engaged with that as well. So yeah, I think it's pretty clear.
I hope obviously for him to be back, but just for John to have that, what's that do for him? And then for your offense to know you've got a backup who can step into those moments.
I would tell you, I've been a head coach 15 years, and what I witnessed in those four plays, obviously one was a called timeout, which kind of benefited us as well, right? Like the first play was a kind of a four-seam look for us that was against a quarters coverage or a cover two, and he recognized the honey hole, got it in there. And then the second one was almost same coverage, and Pat did a nice job of bending it in for the quarterback to find that, drifted to his right. And then on the timeout, we actually ran the play. I was going bonkers on the official because I knew that we ran the play, and I never heard the whistle, and we kind of mitigated through that whole scenario. But they went to a version of man free on that, and then Pat caught that curl, so I know what their DC was thinking. And then literally on the final play, one of the things that we do game plan wise is very unique to what happened on that play, and as it began to unfold, I saw the reaction of the Mike linebacker, so I knew what was happening, and literally Isaiah Williams jogs in front of the quarterback, pulls out his mouthpiece and says something to John. I know what he said, and then it materialized literally on that play. So there's just such, I thought it was awesome. I don't know who asked Isaiah the question, right, but somebody asked what did John say in the huddle? Maybe he said, I don't remember what he said. I know how he made me feel, right? And that is something as a coach, you just gravitate to that moment. Like on the sideline, I could see it. I knew what was going to happen. I didn't know if we were going to hit it, right? And then the way John looked off, just incredibly awesome teaching moment. And we, to that point, we watched that as a play on Friday night in our meeting room with players. So it was pretty awesome to see it unfold.
I mean, that
It's been a little bit of a-
collaboration, the collaboration between, like Isaiah and John, the communication. I mean, as a coach, I'm sure like that's what you want all the time. But like to actually get something like that in that kind of moment, what does that make tell you about?
You know, Isaiah is very special. And I know you asked a question about John, but so as good as the last play was with Isaiah, right? As good as the 4th and 11, right? The play that I taught of the most on Sunday, the play that he fumbled, right? So it's a 3rd down. We slant, we complete it. He's running, gets it knocked out. We have 1 timeout. And one of the things I always tell our players, I can handle anything, right? I just need to handle the truth, right? And so I have people in my ear. Coach's knee is down, his elbow's down. You know, like they got to review it, right? Like I'm like, just a bunch of noise going on, and Isaiah was literally about 15 feet from me. I said, hey, hi. I said, and he looked at me and he shook his head. He's like telling me I wasn't down, right? So I didn't burn the timeout. I was literally about ready to burn the timeout. If I had burned it, then they would have told me that it wasn't he wasn't down, and then I wouldn't have had the timeout at the end of the game that we could kind of get everybody together after the first play that John went in there, and there was a lot of communication going on in that huddle. I give Barry a lot of credit because John Paddock probably had not run a 2-minute situation probably in the last 2 to 3 weeks, you know, because we practice that routinely, but it's usually the one gets all those reps, right? But John takes tremendous mental reps. But for Isaiah in that moment to communicate to me as a head coach, a lot of kids would be selfish and be like, Coach, I was down, my balls, you know, the ball was after it's just a lot going in that moment, and Isaiah is so prepared for the moment for him to tell me that was like a huge teaching moment for me as a coach too.
It's a little bit of a roller coaster of a season. How important is it, starting with Indiana, for the trajectory of the program and for the seniors to finish the season strong?
Yeah, I get it. Every season a roller coaster, right? Every week's a different ride. But I would just tell you overall, I could almost tell when I came in and talked to you guys after the game, there was talk about the game, but everybody wanted to go to the end of the season, right? Like it's very, very common for everybody to talk about the season. Like we're about Indiana. Like we lost these cats a year ago on a Friday night in a fashion that I felt, you know, we didn't play at our best, right? So I was very clear with our guys. This week is about Indiana preparation, a tremendous amount of respect for them and what they've done. They've kind of turned their season. So we're getting ready to play Indiana, and what happens after that is we play Iowa, and what happens after that is we play Northwestern. But they have a calendar, they have a schedule, they have a daily task, and I would be very surprised if our guys go off that.
Thank you, guys.